Okay, real quick, I'm gonna try to get through the trig review worksheet and talk about a few things on the way as we go. First thing you have to be able to do is make sure you know domain, range, and period of each trig function. And thinking now of what the graph looks like, hopefully that'll help a little bit with this as well. So for sine and cosine, I did these real quick. Remember what they look like, the sine and cosine curve. They're waves that go on forever. Their domain is all reals. Their range goes from -1 to 1. And the period for both of those is 2 pi. And so once you get those, we can also think about the reciprocal ones, which are cosecant and secant. So cosecant is the reciprocal of the sine, so it's 1 over y, or if you're not in the unit circle, it would be r over y. But the key thing is to realize it's going to be undefined when y is 0. So think about the unit circle. Where is y 0? It's 0 on those two spots. So the domain is all reals, except, and some of you put minus, which is fine, except multiples of pi. I'm just going to write n pi, but you could write multiples of pi. So any multiple of pi, it's going to be undefined. The range, remember, because it's the reciprocal of this, means it's everything from -infinity to -1. So that's the reciprocal from -1 to the other side. And then it's also from 1 to infinity. Alright, the range of secant and cosecant are going to be the same because they both kind of have that general shape as they get flipped. The period is also 2 pi for both. Now the secant is undefined at different spots. Remember, secant is the reciprocal of the cosine, so it's r over x. So it's going to be undefined when x is 0, which is down here and up here. So that's all reals minus odd multiples of pi over 2. Odd multiples of pi over 2. So pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, so it's all reals minus those odd multiples. So that's the reciprocal ones of sine and cosine. For tangent, domain is, again, you got to think about where is it undefined. Domain is sine over cosine or y over x. So it's undefined the same as secant. All reals minus those odd multiples. Odd multiples of pi over 2. The range of tangent, though, remember what the graph looks like. That range is all reals. The period is pi. Cotangent is x over y, so it's undefined just like the cosecant is. It's undefined for all reals minus just multiples of pi. Any multiple of pi. 1 pi, 2 pi, 3 pi. Range is all reals, and period is pi. So if the graph helps, think about what the graph looks like to answer those questions. The next set of directions say find the missing arc length values. Remember the formula, you'll have to know that. The arc length equals r times theta, where theta is in radians. So if I give it to you in degrees, you either can try to figure it out by using your formula. The number of radians is to pi as the number of degrees is to 180, and fill in the 140 degrees and cross multiply. This one I don't have to do that. I know that that is pi over 4. 45 degrees is pi over 4. So when I set my formula, S is 3 equals pi over 4 times r. So I need to solve for r. Easiest way to do that is take both sides of the equation and multiply by 4 over pi. That will cancel this pi over 4. And so I'm going to get 12 over pi. 12 over pi, sorry about that. 12 over pi equals r. And that's my value. And that would be in centimeters when I label that. Okay, 2, give me r and theta in radians. Now I have to find s. So s is just going to equal my r value times my angle in radians. And I would probably put this as a fraction. So I would think of that as 7 halves. So 7 halves times 3 pi over 2. Nothing cancels, so I'm going to get 21 pi over 4. Now if you could use a calculator, you could get a decimal approximation for that. And again, that's labeled in inches because it is a length. And then 3, given S and R, and you have to find theta. So S equals R times theta. So all I need to do is divide by 2. So 5/2 of a radian, so 2.5 radians. And think about that. Where's 2.5 radians? Well, 3.14 radians is over here, so 2.5 radians is somewhere in that quadrant. That's what that means. But that is a radian measure. All right. Finding the values, exact values. So you have to be able to figure out where it ends up on the unit circle. So draw a picture of it. So as I'm going around the circle in the negative direction, if I get to negative 15 pi over 3, I'm over here because that's negative 5 pi. So I'm going in the negative direction. If I went all the way to here, that would be negative 15. I have to go 1/3 less than that. So I am in the third quadrant with a reference angle of pi over 3. So my ordered pair would be negative 1/2, negative radical 3 over 2. Secant is the reciprocal of the cosine, so it's the reciprocal of the x value, so it's negative 2. So I would look for those things. Here, what quadrant is it in, the ordered pair, and do you have the right answer? All right, negative 4 pi. I'm going in the negative direction, but an even multiple of pi ends up right here. So that's where it ends up, which has the ordered pair of 1, 0. Cosecant is the reciprocal of the y value. So when I take the reciprocal of 0 over 1, I get 1 over 0. That can't happen. It's undefined. So that value is undefined. Oops, undefined. All right. 3. 83 pi over 4. So I look at that and think of 80 pi over 4. 80 pi over 4 would end up over here because that's 20 pi. So I'm going around the circle. I get to 80 pi over 4. I have to go 3 more fourths of a pi. So that would get me to this with a reference angle of pi over 4. So it's negative radical 2 over 2, comma, radical 2 over 2. That's my ordered pair. I want the cosine, negative radical 2 over 2. And then 4, tangent of 5 pi over 2. So remember, each of these is a multiple of pi over 2. So 1 pi over 2, 2, 3, 4 pi over 2, 5 pi over 2 ends up right here. That would be 0, 1. Tangent is y over x, so 1 over 0. That also is undefined. Okay, so that's page 1. And I think I'll stop there, and I'll just do each page